And time for those 4 words rather, I've been waiting to say for the last 2 weeks. Buonasera a tutti. Good evening, everybody. Back with Brandon for What's the Scoop, episode number 94. We are short one today, and we'll address that in just a moment. But Brandon, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, Scoop. Can't complain. Got a lot of stuff on the agenda tonight, so I won't even waste much time. Let's just dive right into it if we can.
Absolutely. And looking forward to doing just that. Obviously, like you said, no shortage across all of our favorite sports and teams. And again, I will address this real quick. Jay, obviously, not with us tonight. Jay is dealing with a family situation. I'll respect his privacy and not share too much, but he is with his family tonight, and just want to let him know that we're thinking about him. We miss him, and we love him. And praying for you guys, Jay. And we miss you tonight, but we'll look forward to having you back when opportunity allows. And hope that everything goes as well as possible with you guys. So yeah, that's just wanted to mention that real quick for our brother, and obviously we'll miss him tonight. Oh wow, okay. I can't even get on the show without having news to break.
Great.
Strap in, baseball fans. This is a doozy. The Red Sox and the Pirates have agreed to a 5-player trade that will send starter Johan Oviedo to the Red Sox and a package of prospects to the Pirates that is headed by Password Garcia. And his name is Password Garcia because his name, I'm going to butcher the hell out of this, Yuxtanon Garcia. I know that's not how it's pronounced, but
Yeah, I forget what his actual I forget the actual
but
pronunciation
you know
is.
who I'm talking about, right? Because they call
Yeah.
him Password because of his name. But anyway, so that deal has just gone down. Literally, as I was taking us live just now, according to Jeff Passan of ESPN, 5 players in that deal. The 3 others are not yet named, but the Red Sox and Pirates have come to an agreement. Oviedo to Boston, Garcia to the Pirates. So, the Red Sox have been known to be in the market for starting pitching, and it appears that at least that didn't take too long. It appears that that they are well under the way of that pursuit. A lot of this was expected to kind of come to fruition around the time of the winter meetings, which obviously are starting in just 3 days. But looks like they're getting a little bit of a jump on things. So, I mean, we're Yankees fans, so why don't we start with this? Does this change how you look at the Red Sox pitching going into 2026? Does this move the needle for you at all, or how do you see that?
It's tough. At least for me, because I don't think it moves the needle per se, but it definitely is a move where I think the Sox benefit from it. We did say they needed starting pitching, which they kind of get. They're getting a pitcher who's still on the younger side of things, only 25 years old. Going to be, or not 25, 27, sorry. Going to be 28 soon. So still on the younger side of things, if you're going to get a pitcher, you would prefer, obviously prefer them to be below the age of 30. Um, you know, it's good for them. I mean, he's probably going to have to, I would say he's probably going to be maybe their, fourth, fifth starter. I mean, because he has a couple. He hasn't had much experience starting, but has been a decent starter especially for Pittsburgh, who has kind of, everybody knows
Yeah,
Paul Skeens. Everybody knows, like what Paul Skeens is to the Pirates. But, you know, uh, people forget that, when you look at a lot of Pirates pitchers, like in recent memory, I mean, with this, younger guy having, a few of his starts are pretty good. His ERA is pretty good. But then you got Paul Skeens, obviously, best probably pitcher in baseball. Uh, for years they had David Bednar, who's now the closer for the Yankees, good closer for the Pirates, now for the Yankees. Um, so, if there's one thing that the Pirates seem to do, also, well, hell, Garrett Cole came from there. A lot of guys came from there. So,
Mhm.
if there's one thing the Pirates usually do well is kind of produce pitching. Um, so I think that's a good. Really, I think both sides kind of benefit. I mean, the Pirates have to kind of just start getting younger and start looking at. I mean, I don't even want to say rebuild because it feels like they've been in a permanent rebuild, but
Hmm.
anytime you can get a load of prospects, it's never a bad thing, especially for a guy that just wasn't getting much playing time and things like that in your current system, um, for at the big league level. So, you know, I don't think I don't think it moves the needle, but I think it definitely helps both sides. But it definitely helps the Red
Hmm.
Sox. They needed some pitching help. That's the first good step. So you know
Oh,
what?
sorry, I just got to add this. The full trade has been announced. The Red Sox also getting Tyler Samaniego, who is a starting pitching prospect in his own right. He's got three average or better pitches, fastball, slider, and changeup, and has got very good command, something that a lot of teams are looking to add in their starting pitching in this era where a lot of things are prioritized. A lot of teams are prioritizing stuff over command. So it's got a good command addition that they're making there with Samaniego. And the third guy they're getting is Adonis Guzman. He, excuse me, is yet another prospect that they're adding from the Pirate side of things. I'm working to get more information on him. And then the two guys going back, along with Garcia, there is Jesus Travieso is going back on the other side of that. I'm going to be looking more into him. I don't have a ton of information on him right now, but I'll look in more into that. But those are the other names among that five-player trade that has been agreed upon. Guzman is a catcher who is considered glove first, but has some about average hit ability and power as well, but likely is a few years away from any sort of major league action.
Yeah, I mean, then in that case, I think the Red Sox really did well for themselves. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
you
I
know,
think so too.
because I mean, the Pirates are the Pirates. They're better off at producing, starters and working with their starters. They're kind of getting back. I mean, it seems like they're getting back a bunch of hitters, kind of, and a bunch of basically minor league hitters, um, which they do need to because when you have Paul Skeens who can't get any run support, it's a big deal to get somebody to develop somebody who can hit the baseball for them.
Yeah,
Um, but at the same time, I mean, I don't think it's really any guys that could make that big of a difference. I guess. Whereas the Sox are not getting just are getting some starter help, not just in the form of the big league club, but at the minor league level, which is huge. Um,
absolutely. I love that depth move. That depth addition for them, I think, is going to be really solid.
yeah, because if it was just for the major league club for this year, I'd be like, okay, it doesn't move the needle. I mean, it still doesn't move the needle. It's still not like obviously a big name, but
No,
it, it's enough to where it's like, okay, they're at least addressing their issues. So
yeah,
it's
I
a
would
good
say that they're a better club. I'd say they're a better club today than they were yesterday. Do I
yeah.
think that this even makes a difference in the sense of one win for them this year? No, not necessarily. But they're a better club in the margins than they were yesterday. I think a lot of times that's where you really win is in making those moves.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly how I feel. And
So,
listen, if it helps them build to something bigger and they can finally start competing again, like for over a course of a full season, because last year they didn't really get hot until after they made moves. Um,
the way that they took off after trading Devers is still going to go down as one of the weirdest things to me.
it's bizarre. It's like it shouldn't have. It's like doing the reverse and it worked. It's really
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, like and again, I know I've said it before, but honestly, credit to Craig Breslow. He must have really had his finger on the pulse of what was going on in Boston to
Mhm.
be able to make a move that was so pretty universally reviled in his fan base and come
Yeah.
out looking smart for it.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing too. I mean, they must have known, especially when we heard the reports about like, oh, Devers won't change positions, Devers won't do this, his attitude's bad. Like, you know, then at that point you could start seeing, hey, if this guy's gonna drag down the clubhouse, and they were playing bad at the time, then hey, they kind of cut out. I mean, for lack of a better term, cut out the cancer, and
Yeah,
and and they got better. So that's sometimes that really is all it takes. It didn't make sense at the time, but now
no, it's
we have more
and I
clarity.
think that's why they say, and I'm guilty of this too. I think that's why they always caution us. And again, like I said, I'm guilty of being somebody who does this, where it's not just the best 26 players, it's the right 26 players,
Mhm.
because you can make the case that Boston right now has nobody as good as Rafi Devers is as a talent, but just because you're a good, but again, I mean, we've seen it. We're going to talk about another one about another player like this in a little bit here in another sport. But just because you're a great talent doesn't mean you're great for your team. And where I'm foreshadowing with that, but we'll take that in a little bit. But speaking of the Red Sox, I do want to also just acknowledge them for this because I thought this was really quite cool. This past week, for those who don't know, the Red Sox have an award called the Tony Conigliaro Award that they award every year to a player or somebody of significance in baseball who it's kind of one of their prestigious organizational awards, which talks about courage and players who overcame adversity. It's been in honor of guys like Trey Mancini and John Lester and former ace for the Mets, R.A. Dickey, one of my personal all-time heroes, Jim Abbott. So they've awarded this to a good number of players for myriad very respectable and admirable reasons. And this year they chose to award it to rival Yankees pitcher Tim Hill in the wake of his battle with cancer, from which he is now thankfully doing better. And so I just wanted to call that out because I thought that was cool when I saw that. I always appreciate when organizations are just they make it clear that they respect one another off the field, and these kind of like I think sometimes these little reminders of that outside of the field of competition I think is always kind of cool to see. Real quick, Kurt says, "What's up, boys? Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Same to you and Jenny Hoops and to Bo. Thank you, Kurt." It says, "Question of the night: do the Knicks go all in for Giannis?" All right, we were gonna get to this eventually, so we'll just bring it forward now. Brandon, I'll let you go and take the lead on this.
So, being part of a big New York sports chat, they're all a bunch of Knicks fans. Of course, I'm a Nets fan. I don't, so I hear them talk about what the Knicks.
God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah, I hear about what the Knicks are going to do like every day of my life. I don't know. I don't know, Kurt. I don't know if they go in for Giannis. I mean, they're still a top 4 team in the East. Listen, you can always get better, obviously, and the Knicks will always look to do that at this point because now they're considered one of the powerhouses of the East. But I just don't know. You'd have to go up a lot to get him. Any team that would have to get him. I feel like he's probably best suited going to a team that's probably somewhere in like the middle, to where they're not like a team that's at the bottom, like a bottom feeder team, and they're gonna just scrap all their young guys to get him and just hope they make the playoffs. But I don't feel like I don't know if a contender really has the pieces. Like the Knicks would have the Bucks wouldn't take somebody like Cat for Giannis. That's just not happening. So
imagine saying that a few years ago. A few years ago, that would have not been something you would have imagined.
Yeah, which is
life comes at you fast in sports.
Oh yeah, and it's like, and Cat's not that. I mean, Cat's not that bad. I mean, but the thing is, compared to where he was, because I was a big Cat fan. Obviously, being a Jersey guy, I wanted Cat on the Nets years ago.
I wasn't a big Cat fan until I adopted Pringles.
I figured something like that was going to come up, but I mean, the Knicks could, in theory, because I mean they've got a good ownership now. They've got a great team. Yeah. They're not afraid to go out and get big name guys. I mean, they go out and they have built that team, brick by brick and things like that. But at the same time, I don't know what the Knicks really have left. I mean, listen, they give up a lot of picks over the last, pretty much the last year. They get a lot of picks to the Nets, give up a lot of picks in general to build their team. So they don't really have any picks, I think, to give. They don't have, I think, the players that maybe the Bucks would want. I don't see it. Like, would he be great on the Knicks? Yeah, big market, big lights, contender. Yeah, that's all great. I just don't know if the Knicks would have anything the Bucks would want, and I don't know if because they've always said for the last like 2 years at this point that Giannis wants to go to a New York team, but let's be real, he's not becoming a Net. Um,
Well, I was just about to ask you actually. The Nets have 7 ones over the next 5 years, including their own.
yeah,
So they've got what? That's 12 ones over the next 5 years.
yeah,
They ain't going to use all those because that's literally a full active roster right there.
yeah.
Do you package some of those, or are they just way too deep into the? And do you think that that's almost kind of making the same mistake they made with the Celtics trade and the same mistake they made with
That's
like the big three? Do you think that would just be them making the same mistake again?
that's what I worry about because they've got the picks to do it, but it almost feels like I don't think picks alone would be enough. Like, I don't think the Nets probably are the team with the most in terms of picks to give
Yeah,
to any kind of star player. So it would make sense in that aspect, but I don't think they would have any players that the Bucks would really want. Uh, I don't know if any of the guys we have would move the needle for them, like a combination of like maybe a player and a couple first rounders. I don't know if that would do it, but um, and the thing is, too, a lot of the guys are young, very young. Like the Nets just drafted a lot of these guys, so I don't think that the Nets would just have these guys, get them in the building, have them there for a year or two, and then blow it up again for Giannis. Like that, and the thing is, and Giannis alone can't lead you to a final. So it's like I don't think if you're gonna get Giannis, then okay, who are you gonna put with him? Because
right.
the Nets right now are getting better. I like the two rookie, oh, not the two rookies, the rookies that we've drafted this year are starting to come along. Igor Demon looks like a star. Danny Wolf's played great the last few games. Finally, when he's gotten a chance to play, all these guys are starting to kind of develop something here. So they're not winning a ton of games, but they're developing something. I'd rather see them develop and continue to build it out rather than once again for the third time now blow it all up for a big name trade and it doesn't work out. So I prefer the Nets stay away from it. Plus, I just don't think we would have enough in terms of picks, but not enough in terms of like a big enough package. I think to get them. Um, so like you know, I don't know if the Lakers would do it. I don't know if you know
There's three teams that I'm thinking of. I want to see if you mention any of them.
I because I'm just thinking of mostly the I guess the East Coast because the East Coast to me are the teams that really need it because obviously OKC out in the West is a powerhouse and
Well, it's interesting that you say that because you talk about a team that's stacked to high heaven with ones and that can afford to move off of one of their young players. You package a handful of those ones with one of their young guys. You put Giannis in that team. You're looking at a team that's set for the next 3-4 years and probably still has a good number of those ones.
that's
Because
true.
ain't none of those ones, especially their own, going to matter for a team that's going to be in the bottom where they're going to be in the bottom five for the next 5 years.
Yeah, I just
That
don't
was one of the three teams I was thinking of.
because yeah, OKC, but OKC can. The thing is, he would be a luxury at that point, like because you don't need him to win. Like that's to me like if you don't need a guy to like, I'm all for like they call like when Saquon came to Philadelphia. Some people called him a need. Some people called him a luxury pick. I was like, well, technically he's more of a luxury pick because Philly had all the pieces there. They had the quarterback, the O line, the receivers, the defense. Saquon was pretty much just a luxury pick, but he ended up being very important to the team. Now that could go that way for Giannis, to where he could be a luxury pick and he could be very important to the team. I mean, he's a
Right.
superstar, he's a Hall of Famer. But I mean, when OKC is 21
But
and one,
here's the thing. Like in this day and age, I mean, sports in general has more parity than it ever has. There's more teams than there ever have been. There's more, restrictions on success and, you know, handouts to failure. I hate to put it that way, but it is what it is. There's more of that than there's ever been. I don't think anything should be looked at as a luxury at this point. You've got teams like the Dodgers that'll win and then go at it with a level of aggression of a team that's fighting the curse of the Bambino revisited. It's and now you've got Mark Walter looking to purchase the Lakers. Um, it's I think if you're looking at it from the standpoint of all these different teams that are actually trying to win and teams that are people say, oh, this team's just going to do this, oh, this team's going to just go and try and do this. Let them. Hello, I'd rather have that than bunch of teams being the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they're out on Martha's Vineyard while fans are taking out loans to be able to afford to go and watch a team next year that's going to win 72 games.
Well, you know what's funny? Like, we talk about like, parity, right? If OKC gets
a joke to
Giannis,
begin with, but go on.
well, yeah. If OKC gets Giannis, and then parity, we all know parity's out the window. That team's never losing.
Well,
Like,
but see, here's the thing. We don't know that. We thought that we thought that was going to be the case when Brooklyn became a thing. We thought that was going to be a case when
well, I didn't. I knew better.
Okay. A lot of people did. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
You and I, and people who were actually following Brooklyn at the time didn't, but everyone outside of it did. Excuse me. The Phoenix Suns, we thought that was going to become a dynasty. That just ended up becoming West's version of Brooklyn. But shockingly to nobody, that both included Kevin Durant. But talk about the epitome of being a great talent, but not a great winning player. Great example in terms of the whole need versus luxury thing. The Warriors, quote unquote, didn't need him, but he certainly was responsible at least for that dynasty becoming what it was and lasting as long as it did. So, and that's why, like, this whole like need versus luxury thing, I don't know if that truly exists in sports, because excuse me, that this isn't like 2K where you just you put 85 overall guys or better in your lineup and you're guaranteed to win a championship as long as they don't all die. But I still remember my supersonic save where I had literally the best starting five in the entire league, and I won like 58 games because 2 of them got hurt. But that's beside the point. But that was also during COVID. But anyway, back to this.
You know what I think of too is like, Giannis too. You also got to be careful these days, just because. Well, in sports, players are playing longer nowadays, but when it comes to basketball players, when you start getting towards the wrong side of 30, it's like a running back in the NFL. It declines pretty quickly.
Well, it's also not only that. You've also got all this other load management bullshit and all this I don't like that either. So and that's one of the things that I love basketball, but in terms of leagues, the NBA is my least favorite league, and it's not close. Because I just don't. I am very in favor of how player empowerment it's become, but I think there still needs to be a balance. And when people hear the word balance, I think they almost overcorrect and they try and drag the power too much to the other side. No, I truly mean a balance. I mean that your employer is accountable to you and you're accountable to your employer. And I think, in the NBA, I've gone on this rant a million times on this show, but I don't like the fact that one player can hold a franchise hostage for the next 4 seasons. I mean, no one's been better of a embodiment of this as a single player in perhaps all of sports than James Harden, who has almost single-handedly brought down not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 franchises. But which in my opinion might be his most noteworthy accomplishment at this point. But because I can't think of anything else that he's done that has left as much of an impact on any team than that.
It's funny that they're going to reward him at the end of the day with a Hall of Fame ceremony, which is
yeah. At the Hall of Fame ceremony, he's like, which hat do I want to wear? I don't know. You couldn't decide which hat you wanted to wear while you were playing. But anyway, but yeah. And so going back to the topic at hand, though, with Giannis. So one of the teams I was going to say was the Thunder. The Rockets is another one that comes to mind.
That's who I thought. I was going to say Rockets.
Yeah. And then another one, and this might be a bit of a dark horse because typically the so-called, I hate this phrase, the so-called small market teams don't typically get mentioned with things like this. If the Memphis Grizzlies are really over Ja Morant, I don't
Mhm.
know if there's a team that can offer a young player that could offer more intrigue to a team like Milwaukee than John Morant.
Yeah. Oh, you know what was funny? I want to know who the executive was or executives that the anonymous ones that were saying that they don't like John Moran because he's a pain in the ass, quote unquote. They were like,
I mean, not one part of that surprises me.
yeah,
Um,
because
but
they went on a whole thing about how like all the like I don't I forget what the whole post was. It was an actual report too.
yeah, no,
Um,
I know. I'm pretty sure I read the same one, or at least I read
yeah,
something that sort of quoted it. But it was like, um, but I mean that doesn't. I mean, the guy's had multiple gun situations. The guy had that one stupid social media controversy where yeah, it was blown out of proportion when he did this whole thing. But when you've already had two gun charges, like IQ, read the fucking room. Sorry, but
but
like
it's true.
how dumb do you have to be? Like this is like Johnny Manziel type shit. Um, I and it just drives me nuts when I see players be that like dumb. There's no other way to put it. And but that is another team that I thought of because again, if you're not looking for just draft picks and you're looking for an actual like young player in return, which I would be if I were Milwaukee, I'm not making this deal for just draft picks. I'm just not.
Yeah,
Um, Draft picks are too volatile. And one thing or another, that's kind of like what I've learned in sports is that if I'm trading a franchise cornerstone type player, you're giving me somebody I can put on the floor tomorrow.
yeah, yeah.
Like I'm not waiting and hoping that college over the next 4 years, which it wouldn't even be 4 years because I don't think you can trade back to back draft picks the same year because of the stipend rule. So yeah, that's how I would see it. And what are you doing? But but yeah, those were the three teams I was thinking of. So when you said East, I was like, oh, that's not where my
Yeah,
mind went at all because two of those three teams are obviously West teams. But and no, that's not just me trying to get him away from New Orleans because nothing's going to help New Orleans at this point. We're literally I checked today. I don't check the standings all that often. We're literally the worst record of the entire NBA.
well, I mean, listen,
The only reason you guys aren't is because you guys don't even tank.
I don't understand. I don't even want to go there. Like, I love that the rookies are playing well. Believe me, I do. But I'm like, my God, we need more help than this. Please, can they play well, but then like pull them off the floor after like 10 minutes, like, and then just put a bunch of the crappy veterans or the crappier bench in there. Like, I don't
Want
want.
DeAndre Jordan back?
Honestly, you know what? If it helps us lose games, sure, because like
I'd gladly trade him to you because for whatever reason we prefer to put him on. I don't understand the amount of times I've seen him on the floor and cutting into the time of not just favors but Missy and all these others. I mean,
I don't get why anybody at this point would want DeAndre Jordan on their team. He hasn't been good in like 10 years.
well, and if you notice, as soon as friggin' what coach did we just fire? I've forgotten his name. He was like Voldemort to me.
What was what
Literally,
the
what the hell was the guy's name?
oh my god.
This is actually killing me. Oh God,
Willie Green?
Willie Green. Thank you. My God.
Dang,
Um,
I try to remember. I just came to mind.
yeah, I tried to forget. But that's all jokes, of course. Willie Green seemed like a really good guy. And literally nothing was going to help this team. But yeah, Coach Borrego now at least. And obviously it's way too early to say if he's going to be the long term guy or not. I assume he's not because typically these guys aren't. But the guys that get hired early on in the season do seem to have more of a chance to stick. So we'll see.
Mhm.
I do at least like the fact that he's actually committed to playing the young players more and acknowledge that they are in a rebuild, whether they wanted to admit to it or not.
Yeah.
But like, and people say like, well, why would you give up a first rounder next year to get a guy that at least they got a young player. This is the issue why I didn't have the issue with giving up the first rounder that other people did. So you're mad about giving up a first rounder next year to get a player this year. At least you know what you have by getting the player this year. So now all you're doing is okay. That pick could be people are saying that could be a top 5 pick next year. Okay, I've seen plenty of top 5 picks completely flop. I've
Yeah.
seen plenty of bottom 10 first rounders, succeed. there's not that much difference between a 20th overall this year and a 6th overall next year to make me hate making that deal. And at least so far, it looks like they made a decent pick with that selection.
Yeah.
So, so I never hated that deal with Atlanta the way that some people did. But that to segue into this, and I do want to get your thought on this as somebody who only follows from a distance and probably only knows anything or like half of what you know about the Pelicans against your will because of me rambling about it. But oh my God, I am so over Zion Williamson. I am so over Zion Williamson. This dude, he may be the most talented young player that we've had come into the league in the last 6 years. The quote goes, and I've said it on this show probably a dozen times, and I'm guessing 9 of them are because of him. The best ability is availability.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, he may have had the potential of being the best player in modern NBA history. Guess what? I don't care if you're not putting the numbers up. I don't care if you're not winning games. Okay. For all I know, I was born to be a great NBA player before I was freaking born the way that I was. We have no idea. But the fact of the matter is, I don't care what your potential is unless you're taking steps to actually and showing steps toward actually reaching it. And I have not seen that at all.
Do you
and
know?
I'm not, and I don't think he's a bad person by any stretch. I don't think he's. Excuse me. I don't think that I've never heard per se that he's had a terrible work ethic. Like I don't hear stuff to him like I heard with like Luka and things like that. I don't think that
Oh boy. Now we just lost Scoop. I don't know. I had no idea what happened. He was so angry that apparently his Pelicans rant made him so angry that the computer fried itself. Interesting. and now he's texting me to say sorry. It's all good. I get where Scoop's coming from. And honestly, I was going to say that it's not the work ethic. I don't think it's ever been a problem. But to me, if I had to think of one thing that describes Zion, because I was just thinking about this quote, and it's because it's what I associate with him, is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I'm not saying on the court or in practice. I'm saying his weight thing. Now because that's been an issue now for years. So I would love to think of him, coming out of college. I was like, oh yeah, he's so talented. We all knew how talented he was. But it's the problem is just, when it's like when the Yankees, I'll liken this to the Yankees. When the Yankees had Greg Bird, and they called Greg Bird the next biggest, first baseman in baseball, and going to be so great and all these different things. And Greg Bird had all this talent and whatnot. And Greg Bird pretty much never saw the field. He had one or two big Yankee moments, but he was never on the field. Doesn't matter how good you are. If you're never on the field, the court, whatever you want to call it, it's not going to matter. You can't only be there in spirit. You can't only be there sitting on the bench, being a cheerleader for your team. You've got to actually play. It's the only way your team is going to get better. It's the only way you're going to get better. It's the only way you're going to actually live up to your draft status. All obvious. These are all obvious things, but it's bad. That whole situation with him is just bad, and it just the relationship is just that's been off since the very beginning with New Orleans. I haven't followed New Orleans closely in a while. When I watching New Orleans over the last 5 years, one of my favorite players from the moment he got there, to watch, and he was a guy that I wanted in Brooklyn for years, was Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram was fantastic. He's still a really good player right now. So he was one of those guys. They've always had some sort of talent come through there. New Orleans has had, not just the Pelicans, but New Orleans as a city has had, seen Chris Paul come through there. At least, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum. But CJ McCollum, late stage CJ McCollum, but still a very good player. Of course, Anthony Davis. So, they've always seemed to be able, they've always seemed to find talent, but this is like the first time where the talent just is not it's not it's not coming to fruition, and this whole situation is getting frustrating. So I wish I could have more to say. I know Scoop follows it closer than me, but I I don't know about that whole situation, but I'm glad that we're covering it now because it has to be talked about. When Zion doesn't play, the NBA notices, and he hasn't played a lot in his career. So there you go.
I really want to apologize for that. But thanks for holding that down, Brandon. And yeah, I'm back now. My AC adapter sometimes. You ever have your AC adapter? You know how it comes in like two parts a lot of the time, and like sometimes one of the parts will just section off just enough where it's not fully unplugged, but it like just disconnected just enough, so there's no longer making a connection.
Yeah,
That's kind of what happened to mine. So it didn't look unplugged, but there was just enough pulled out where it was just like not. So I apologize for that sincerely.
nah, that's fine.
Nikki says, "Hi, Scoopy. How about them Cowboys?" And
That's
yeah,
right.
I'll emphasize this by saying the only time you'll ever hear those four words out of my mouth is if I'm quoting somebody else. But Nikki, hope you're doing well. I want to shout out her for her shows that I'm on periodically. Shows like Hall Hoops and Happenings, making appearances on other shows. Nick Romano's post game show. I don't know the exact name of it. Something of that nature. You got great people over there. Christina Romano is amazing. Nick and Bobby Blackjack and Paul Justafan and Bill and all those guys. I'm sorry if I forgot anybody, but just love that group over there, and just wanted to shout them out. They do a lot of amazing work on Seton Hall basketball. Go check them out, Facebook, YouTube, and all of that. And Nikki, I'm sure will continue to be mentioning her shows over the next several weeks as well, as Seton Hall basketball starts to really kick into full gear. 8-1 as of right now, with the only loss being a narrow one to USC, I believe, last week, which came right off the heels of an upset over the 23 ranked team at the time, North Carolina State. So great start to the season, at least much better than the season that they had last year. Not that sets that bar out that particularly high, but I digress. That'll be a great segue. We're getting a lot of help with moving the show right along. Let's go right into that. We got Bills. Oh my good lord. We've got Lions and Cowboys tonight.
There you go.
I think I need a little more of this.
Yeah, mine's out, so I'm just gonna take a little. There's like a little sip left, so.
But you said that's it. You said that's not
it's not energy. It's not energy.
Yeah,
drink.
that energy drink.
It's just a seltzer. So
what is that? Just like a fizzy water?
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, that's like I used to drink them White Claw. I tried those a couple of times, and I guess those were seltzers, right?
Not exact. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't drink alcohol, but
I don't drink alcohol either. That's why I said used to.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. No, the ones I know that are seltzers are Bud Light. Those are the ones I know that they make seltzers.
Okay, I'm trying to think of what seltzers I've had. I thought that was one of them, but either way, I've tried. I think they taste like ass, but but I guess it does depend on what flavor is that, because I know it does depend on It does depend on what flavor you got.
I mean, the one I'm drinking. I mean, like I said, it's just straight up seltzer. It's strawberry watermelon.
Okay, that sounds fire. That sounds fire.
Yeah, that's good.
I love strawberry and I love watermelon.
Yeah, it's really good. I shout out to Liquid Death. That's probably my favorite water company.
Liquid Death sounds like a band that Nicole would listen
to. No, you'd be thinking of Liquid Def Leopard. But no, Liquid Death. But before we get into other sports stuff, Liquid Death, I love it so much. I want them to sponsor us.
I was gonna say this sounds like a product placement
because because the thing is I love it. I see Nicole.
Yeah, she's right on to you.
But because you know why? Like they have a couple different flavors. They have regular seltzer, they have regular just spring water, mountain water, whatever you want to call it, and then they have different flavors. They have a peach flavor, they have a sweet tea flavor, they have a blueberry flavor, and they have uh, a lime one. But the one I wanted to try, because I haven't seen it put into like a seltzer before, is root beer. And believe it or not, it actually
I've
tastes
never had
really
root beer,
good.
but
It's really good.
I've heard. Well, no, that's not true. I've had one root beer float at the Seton Hall Carnival the year that we graduated.
Oh, I forgot about that. I didn't go to that, but I forgot that was a thing. I remember that. I do
I
remember that.
went to it because it was really weird. Like I had just gotten back into, not to get super personal, but I had just gotten back to Seton Hall after my brain surgery. Um, so like I had a ton of work to catch up on, but I also was like desperate to like get some of my final social times in. So I went to that for a little bit that day. Of course, that was how I got COVID. But I was there and I had seen that and I saw that and I'd never had a root beer float before. And the person I was with was like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" But of course, I get that so often. I kind of usually remember what's being told to me about anymore. But
Oh,
um,
before I forget, Nikki, you'll appreciate this. I'm wearing my Guns N' Roses t-shirt.
nice,
Oh,
nice. Welcome to the jungle, baby. But um, that's that's the band that. This is gonna sound really stupid, but I'm not trying to be. But that's the band Axl Rose was in, right?
yeah, they still
Okay.
they're still the him slash and now well the current lineup
Awesome.
is basically him slash and Duff McKagan. So
Never would have gotten that last name, but I do know him slash. Um, she didn't get tickets yet. I don't even know what the hell she's talking about.
so the Guns N' Roses plays next year at a MetLife.
Okay, see, I thought she was talking about the shoe carnival. Um, but yeah, like I cannot keep track of what the hell she's talking about. But anyway, so back to the actual game tonight because I thought we got. How do you not know who Duff McKagan is? Don't even start with me.
Oh Jesus!
The stuff that you didn't know on that I was talking about on the show last week. Don't even start with me. We could go. We could do this all night. Get freaking Blackjack to go and set up on Surge that Nicky and Scoop or whatever the hell he wants to call it, and then get oh god, what the hell's her name? I'm so bad with names. The one who's always making me laugh. Get her to sort of like mediate it or MC it, but anyway, back to this show for the 14th time. To the game tonight. No, it's not. So we've got the Lions and the Cowboys, and I will say this. Again, credit to them. We always try and be fair on this show.
Yeah.
Cowboys have really impressed me the last few weeks. You know, yeah, they're 6-5-1, but you know, we always say that there's a lot of teams. We've said this about the Eagles. You know, you can be a 9-1 or a 9-2 and be a lousy 9-2. You can also be a team with around a 500 record and be a good 500 team. The Cowboys are a good 500 team. They seem to have, you know, reevaluated, and this is very similar to me to like what the Red Sox did with freaking Rafael Devers. How do you move off Micah Parsons and get better?
Yeah.
How the hell? That just makes no sense. And that might be. I'm not a Jerry. I mean, obviously, I'm not a Jerry Jones fan. Jerry Jones' only fan is Jerry Jones. But but to his credit, he really at least seems like whether this was calculated or whether he fell ass backwards into it, he looks like he made a good move here. And you know, they've made a couple of moves around it since then. You know, Dak is playing some solid football. I do tend to think Dak is a bit of an under. I think it's weird. I think he tends to be an underrated quarterback and overrated quarterback at the same time because
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
because all of Dallas seems to think he's the best quarterback in football, and everybody outside of Dallas seems to think he's ass, and he's neither of the two. But again, you know, I've always said, you know, he's not in the NFC East. I'm rooting for him. You know, seems like a good enough guy and all of that. But Scoop and Brandon, what are your thoughts on George Pickens? I think he's an asshole, but I think that he is still, you know, he's the kind of person when you put him into the right system. And here's the thing. I think when you put him in Dallas, where at least they have some semblance of a functional offense.
Yeah.
And at least a decent offensive mind, which is the one thing I never questioned about Brian Schottenheimer, is that he's definitely that. When you look at that, I think that puts him in a position to be successful, and also behind guys like CD, it doesn't rely on him to be the guy.
Yeah.
Whereas I think in Pittsburgh, where they've had no semblance of an offense in a decade, and were asking him a lot of times to be the guy on offense, with the exception of their tight ends. I think that there was a lot more on him, and he just clearly doesn't have the maturity for that. I think when you're asking him to be a cog in a machine and a really special one, and to do what he does, rather than to kind of be the guy that's shouldering the load, I think that allows him to play to his strengths a lot better. So I think that I thought it was going to be a bad fit because I thought his personality was going to, just be a tire fire in what I thought was going to be just a mess in Dallas this year. But to the coach's credit, I think Schottenheimer has done a good job of minimizing him where he needs to be and keeping him in check where he needs to be, but also allowing him to channel it into what he's able to do best. So credit to him on that. They've clearly found a way to make him a talented 2 or very high 3, as opposed to a loud 1. And I think that that's where he's best served. So again, credit to Schottenheimer and the Cowboys offense on that.
I mean, it's just a matter of taking a player, and he's the same kind of personality as he was in Pittsburgh. Loud, in your face. Kind of almost looking for trouble to a degree, but he's
like this. He's basically a less talented this generation's version of Michael Irvin. I couldn't stand him either.
Yeah, or like another To. So it's like where he's got all the talent in the world, but it's like
I don't know. For some reason, I almost kind of see him as more of like an Ocho Cinco.
Yeah, I guess a little bit, but like
I mean, we're kind of nitpicking there. I'm just my opinion. Also, real quick, just because I want to make sure that we get the attention on this. Dallas is honoring Neyland every game with the flag when they first run out and hang his jersey on the sideline. Are they still doing the celebration for him in the end zone? Because I thought that was really cool.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I hope so, because that was fire.
And Nikki would know more, I guess, because she's
absolutely. No,
game's closer. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's. Excuse me, sorry. That's definitely the two things that I definitely will trust her on is Devils hockey, and then after that would be Dallas football. I'm not sure, to be honest. All right, makes sense.
You know what I'm thinking of, like when it comes to I think this year, I mean, when you think about the best wide receiver duo in football, it's Lamb and Pickens.
I think that's fair.
And that's huge because we came into the season saying, hey, they're going to fight over the football. One guy's going to have way better stats than the other. I mean, right now, but it's like, even if that was true.
It seems like, and to his credit, it does seem like Lamb has accepted kind of being the Robin. Pickens has accepted being the Robin to CD's Batman.
Statistically, it's flipped this year.
That's for you, Rob Jalil. See me making that reference, even though I have no clue what the hell it even means. But anyway, he does seem like he's at least acclimated to and adjusted to that role. And that was really going to be the biggest thing, is can he handle the fact that he's going to not be the man, so to speak?
Yeah. And what's crazy is, I mean, we're already at this point in the season. Pickens has eight touchdowns already. He's got over 1,100 yards, 15.6, average yards per catch. So it's amazing that he's done all this already. He's already had a Pro Bowl, All Pro type year, and we're not even because the old NFL, the one that we grew up with, was 16 games. He's done this in 13 games.
She says they are praying in the end zone. Okay,
that's what I was. Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't quite remember if that's actually what they were if it was actually like praying specifically. But I did know they were honoring him in the end zone. So okay, yeah, that would be with it. And my apologies, I didn't mean to be disrespectful by saying that, because I didn't know that's what the intent was.
Yeah, but
I do think it's fair to say that they are, if not the best 1-2, then certainly one of.
Because I can't think of another right now. I mean, listen, we know what Devontae Smith and AJ Brown are capable of, but
I will say, as crazy as it sounds, I do still think that they are very. I don't think it's unreasonable to still say it's them. I don't.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I like right now. I think if I had to put it like in the context of the entire league, I
Mhm.
would still put AJ and Devontae at number two.
Yeah,
Like,
because it's and because here's the crazy thing. We've been bitching about AJ Brown this whole season, right?
yeah,
He still has the 22nd ranked catch percentage in the whole NFL.
yeah, and
For as
he's
much as we've been shitting on, for as much as we've been shitting on him, it's not like he hasn't had a bad season.
still on pace for well over 1,000 yards too.
Yeah, which is just crazy to me because we talk about him, or we did talk about him for most of the year, like he was trash, and he's really not been trash. The
Look,
problem
yeah,
is,
the last like 3 4 games has been on fire.
yeah, the
So
problem is that the more fire he gets, somehow we get worse. I don't
yeah,
understand that at
yeah,
all.
I don't know why. Like,
And
yeah,
it's
the guy.
like, that might be, and I hope it doesn't get to this point, but it does make me wonder if maybe I was wrong by hoping we didn't trade him because it does kind of feel like, for some reason, it feels like some of our less successful weeks on offense have been at the expense of trying to get him the ball more. And I hope that I'm wrong on that, but there does seem to be some sort of a combination there. And that's what, and we talk about, I'm not going to spend much time on him because we've talked about him way too much, but the guy whose name I'm not going to mention, uh, the amount of hate that he gets, and I think some of it is definitely obviously deserved. I mean, you and I have been at the forefront of giving it to him, but I do think some of it is not in his. I do think some of it's beyond his control. So again,
Yeah,
this is a first year play caller, and that's not what I'm not going to end it at this. Let me get through this. This is a first year play caller who has no interior of the offensive line, who has now, excuse me, a a running back who can't do his main thing, which is smashing up up the power game, like up the middle and
up the
such.
gut.
Yeah,
Yeah, up the gut.
up the gut. Yeah. Who now adding on top of that, we've got AJ Brown, who is now frustrated because he's not able to do his middle thing because that plays off the running game, and the running game's not going. So I think part of this, I do genuinely, and I think part of the oversimplification of the offense was probably somewhat to compensate for all those things and kind of getting back to basics, as they say. I think part of it is just I think they went too back to basics to the
Yeah,
part where our offense just turned into an absolute 5-year-old child's, baby's first football. But so the more time has gone on, whereas some people are blame this human more and more. I actually have come to blame him less and less over the course of time. I'm not happy about the situation, but I don't put it squarely on his shoulders the way that I used to.
yeah. And you know what's funny, and then this goes into also how Dallas is playing. Where Dallas, look at how Dallas uses their weapons on offense. Dallas doesn't have Saquon Barkley, but they got Javonte Williams. But they use him, and
I've always been a Javante fan. I thought Denver made a
he's
mistake
always
with
been
him.
he's always been a good running back too.
Yeah,
To me, I don't know why Denver didn't just sign him back,
me
or
neither. I think that was a mistake,
get
especially with
that.
the O line they had. They could have gotten juice out of that guy.
And because now their running game isn't anything special. I mean, RJ Harvey's having a decent season as a rookie, but it's not anything special. They don't have much of a running game. I mean, and J.K. Dobbins is out. So, um, but then you look at I look at the way Dallas uses their pieces. CeeDee Lamb always in motion. George Pickens will come across the formation and they'll find ways to get him the ball out in space. Like, I what's making their offense such a threat every year is that they know how to get the balls to their playmakers out in space and on key down and distances, and to draw up plays,
Yeah,
scheme fits to
yeah.
get them open. Like,
And I think
that,
that's hopefully what we're trying to do, because they said that we're trying to kind of go and kind of reevaluate based on the personnel that we have at our disposal right now.
yeah,
I hope that's what we start to see coming out in games like against LA this coming week.
I hope
Because,
so.
because not that we can afford to just quote unquote throw the next, because that's not in any way I'm advocating for. But I think with the success that we've had the beginning of the season kind of allows us, I think, to sort of use these next couple weeks to figure out, okay, what really can we do best with what we have in front of us?
Yeah,
And then hopefully figure that out and get a momentum going into the playoffs. I haven't written this team off as a Super Bowl team at all. But I think that obviously you have to develop some momentum,
yeah,
but the pieces are, I'm going to use everyone's favorite Aaron Boone quote. The pieces are right there in front of you. The question just becomes, how do you actually do what Patullo and those guys are saying in utilizing what you have? Because what you have right now, and this is why I say it's not. This is why what everybody says it's not the best players, it's the right players. You have great players in that team right now. The problem is just that they're not built to run the offense that you ran last year. They're just not.
Yeah.
You don't have the interior of the offensive line to run last year's
They're
offense.
they're not healthy. They're not playing well.
No,
Like
the guys that are healthy are out of position, and the guys that are in position are not healthy.
oh, did you also make your Lions Cowboys pick?
Thank you.
There's still time. You've got
Thank
a
you.
couple minutes.
Thank you. I don't think my medication's for me.
For those that don't know, Scoop we have with our FAH podcast, we do the Pick'em League every year. We're doing it this year again.
And the problem is that I actually have here. I'm going to pull this up real quick, and I'm going to say the exact numbers because it's absolutely absurd. Is that I'm in last in our league, but it's not because I have the lowest percentage of wins. It's because I have failed to make. I think it's 27 picks this year.
Yeah. And more than half of them have been the Thursday night games.
Almost exclusively the Thursday night games. There was 1 week where I forgot to make the first window of the Sunday game.
Well, yeah.
Because I think I was traveling. But
did you get the pick in though? Because I think we have 2 minutes until games. Until it closes, so to speak.
I'm doing it. I literally have it up right now.
Okay, good.
Yeah, here we are. All changes will auto. Okay, yeah, I've got 2 minutes left.
Good thing I told you now.
Yes, thank you. It's on Prime Video.
I'll tell you right now, I picked the Lions, and then that's not a shade at the Cowboys. I just like the Lions at home. I don't think they're gonna.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna lose 2 games at home.
Yeah, I also picked Detroit as well, but I do think this is gonna be a close game.
Yeah.
Like if this were because some of them are ATS. If this were ATS, I might have picked Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. I did get it saved, by the way. So anyway, back to this. But yeah, so I don't know. It's Detroit is hard for me to figure out.
Yeah.
Because it's clear that they lost something with Ben Johnson going to Chicago. And as much as I am not always a fan of like how many times in the last 5 to 10 years have we heard these can't miss coaching candidates not get either interview poorly or get jobs and then flop?
Yeah.
Which is also very similar to what we say about quarterbacks, where always the top prospects are going to crap organizations. So it obviously minimizes their chance for success, especially early on. But it's just the last decade or so, whether it was Joe Brady or Eric Bieniemy or Arthur Smith, like all these guys whose names we've heard, which is Arthur. I can't remember what's Arthur Smith doing now. He's an OC somewhere, isn't he?
He is the OC for Pittsburgh.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And my friends hate him. So
I mean, to be fair, Steelers fans that I know have hated every single coach they've had since freaking Matt Canada.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Arthur Smith though, he's been bad everywhere he's been. So,
but it just, but my point in saying that was going to be that Ben Johnson, at least right now, looks like perhaps the most real deal of the. Oh, Adam Gase was probably the poster child for those types of. Ben Johnson looks like perhaps the most real deal of any of the ones that we've had. Yeah. And if you were to tell me that a guy who had Jared Goff as his quarterback and coached for the Detroit Lions was going to be the most successful offensive coordinator to move to head coach, I think I would have thought you fell on your head. So, respect to them and respect to Dan Campbell, because I'm sure that some semblance of being a teacher for him probably was helpful as well. But so I do think that obviously some of that was going to affect it, but it's like, as much as they clearly miss him, it feels like the defense has been more of their issue than the offense has been.
Yeah.
So, Aaron Glenn has not had a successful year in New York at all.
Then again, no coach is going to be successful in New York at this point.
No, but for a while we said that about the Bears too. So.
Well, yeah. But I said before he even got hired by the Bears, I said Ben Johnson to the Bears is my pick because they have the collection of talent offensively and they have a decent enough defense to where I was like, if Ben Johnson goes to Chicago, I didn't think they'd be number one seed in the NFC, but I thought they would at least be in the playoff hunt, and then like they wouldn't be like out of it like they are every year by this point.
Right.
I remember when his name had been floating around. I was like one of the first people. I was like, Ben Johnson to Chicago makes the most sense, and and it's what happened. And now they're completely just flourishing. So when I look at, because when you look at the talent they had, they fixed. I mean, not totally, but they fixed the O line enough for Caleb Williams. They have Roma Dunze. They have DeAndre Swift. They have a great rookie running back in Kyle Monangai, who, if you're
He's
from
solid.
Jersey, yeah, if you're from Jersey, or if you've been in the area, you know who Kyle Monangai is. He's a Rutgers legend. They've got they had DJ Moore. DJ Moore hasn't played much of a factor, I guess, in recent weeks, but they've got Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet still, so they still have really good two tight ends.
Cole Kmet was a legend in one of my fantasy leagues, and I cannot remember why.
You know why? Because he was consistent for years. But they've got both of them. So
he's one of those annoying ass players that never had a breakout week, but you could never bench him.
It's like he was just consistent, and he would always have one big catch in a game every week. But like when you
and then you'd have that you would always have him in your lineup at expense of that one guy who never should have had a breakout week, but of course it did when you were starting Kmet.
Oh yeah, it never failed. But when you look at what the Bears had coming into this year, and what they were building towards, I was like, I even said it, if they just build a line. Now, I don't think Caleb Williams is a good quarterback, but if they just built a little bit of a line around him, and if they just kept adding a couple, maybe one or two more pieces to that offense, and they gave him pretty much all of that, I was like, the only thing they're missing is the coach. And when you have Ben Johnson, who was one of the most creative people in football, one of the best offensive minds in the game, to me, there was no way, because here's the problem too. When Chicago's always had a more defensive-minded head coach, it hasn't worked out.
No, well, but that's always been fundamental to the organization too. Is I think they and this is I think that Pittsburgh deals with this, and I think this is a problem, is that some of the more quote unquote historic organizations, Dallas does this, Pittsburgh does this, Green Bay sort of does this. They don't do it as badly as they used to. They get so entrenched in their tradition.
Oh.
Really? Their tradition and their
that should be a word now. You're combining tradition and history. That works.
They get so caught up in their own, where they get hard. I can't talk.
They're tradistory. Yes.
They don't evolve very well, and they don't adapt very well when things start to develop, and they kind of get in their own way.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen again, and it always seems to happen more with not even the big brand organizations, but the more historic tradition-oriented organizations that have prided themselves on kind of doing it their way, for lack of a better phrase. And I think that they struggled for a while with that sort of paradigm shifting. Another great example, Matt Eberflus, for a while, he was looked at as a can't-miss coaching candidate.
Yeah.
And when he was the D coordinator in Indy, and I think he coached somewhere else too, but I mostly remember him in Indy. But was he a position coach with the Seahawks or something?
Eberflus?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, because I feel like he coached somewhere before.
He did, but I can't remember.
My brain's stuck on it being freaking it was Dallas, oddly enough.
Was it?
He was the linebacker coach.
Okay. Oh yeah. Then before that was Cleveland. So
Cleveland. Yep. That was. Oh wow, that was right as I was starting to get into football.
Yeah.
That was 2009 and 2010. It's actually a perfect segue into talking about the game that I went to this week. For those who remember me talking about this 2 weeks ago when we were last on, I went to the Browns 49ers game this weekend. Got to see, let me tell you, I can't count on my fingers the amount of players that I've watched in real life and like in person that are more of just a treat to watch as a sports fan than Miles Garrett. That guy, especially in this day and age, other than Aaron Donald, I can't think of many players who can wreck a game defensively like he can in this day and
Mhm.
age. And as I said on FAH, please, for the love of God, Cleveland, Jimmy Haslam, Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, please get this guy an offense that does something with the ball when he gets it back or when he just completely destroys a defense's chance to score.
Yeah, when
Because
he gets a sack on first, second, and third down.
yeah, literally. I mean, you've got Mason Graham there. You've got Carson Schwezinger there. He just has a hard name to say. That wasn't me having a stroke. But like
You have a
they've got
great DC. You have Jim Schwartz.
yeah, you've got a real defense in there now. And I'm not talking like when we say Cleveland has a good defense. No, like we were
It's
playing
good.
we were
Really
playing the
good.
complimentary football game the other day. Between their defense and special teams, you give them an average quarterback. This team's fighting for a playoff position right now. That's all you need. Give them an
Yeah.
average quarterback. This team's fighting for the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that because I know we both are Dylan Gabriel fans, and I know that Shador has a lot of fans out there. But it just literally, you put Tyrod in that offense, I bet that they're fighting for 10 wins.
Oh yeah.
Who would have thought that perhaps their biggest mistake since getting rid of Baker Mayfield would be trading Joe Flacco to the Bengals? Like that sentence doesn't even sound right.
And it's great. I mean, well, he wasn't. He needed to change the scenery too. He wasn't playing well this year, but
I mean, he hadn't played that much. I mean, they traded him back in September, didn't they?
Yeah. But at the same time, he was bad. It was like what? It was like 2 touchdowns to like what 7 picks early on or something.
Oh, I didn't remember it being that bad. Okay,
it was rough. It was pretty bad.
But anyway, so yeah, just wanted to mention that because that was my first time going to Huntington Bank Field, I think it's called now, but Cleveland Browns Stadium. They're going to be moving to a new stadium in the next year. It's going to be in a different part of Cleveland. Don't worry, Browns. This is not Art Modell 2.0. Browns fans, don't worry. But just worked out. It was just really cool to get to go there. Quite literally cool because I was freezing my tail off. I literally came home wearing 4 layers of clothing that I was still wearing in the car on the way home. That's how freaking cold it was. And even that was still not a match for my cat's claws. But oh my God, my freaking Pringles was just wreaking havoc on my legs. But that's beside the point. But with this all to be said, talking about the Browns, I do want to give a shout out in heaven, my grandfather, John Vitale Sr., celebrating his first birthday in heaven today. Passed away 6 months ago. And, we always talk, people like to talk about, oh, I'm not, we talk about, certain things. And I'll hear people say in one situation or other, oh, I don't want to make this call. I'm not prepared to make this phone call. I can't think of a phone call I wasn't prepared not to make other than not being able to call my grandfather today on his birthday, like I've done for the last 20 some odd years. My grandfather is one of the reasons I'm a major football fan. My grandfather is one of the reasons I literally know anything about the Cleveland Browns. And I don't think it's an overstatement to say that one of the reasons this show exists is because of, a cultivated love of sports and football that developed over the course of my life, which the seeds of which were largely sown by my relationship and closeness with him, even from opposite sides of the country. And largely that was based in football. So, Grandpa, happy birthday. We love and miss you down here. And just thank you again for everything. And I can't say that much has changed in Cleveland since you and I last talked about him. But that defense is really shaping up. And I know that you were hopeful for the 2 quarterbacks you got to see them draft this year. And I hope that one of the 2, at least one of them, I hope works out for y'all because we're still going to keep. I think we're going to still keep arguing about Baker Mayfield, even though you're not able to the communications changed a little bit, but I think you and I are still going to find a way to keep that argument going. But I love you. Happy birthday, and thanks, Brandon, for letting me speak on that.
Oh yeah.
But we got that game starting in a few moments here. I think I've yapped quite a bit the last 10 minutes, but Did I miss anything with regard to the Browns or hello the Bill? Take a breather. With regard to the Cowboys or the Lions, that we that you want to jump in on because I think that uh, this game is probably going to be getting.
Oh,
Excuse me.
it's already starting off as a shootout. First 5 minutes is already a shootout.
Yeah, I was going to say I feel like this is probably going to be a pretty offensive heavy game.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what your obsession is with the Buffalo Bills tonight.
Me
Um,
neither. I don't like talking about them when I have to. So I don't know why my mouth is making me talk about them inadvertently.
yeah, but I mean,
Josh Allen throws 600 yards on a JV defense, and everybody's jacking him off again.
I mean, not wrong. Um, you know, I really wish that I guess in a way that I for the NFL season this year, I just obviously we're talking about the Browns struggles offensively. We're talking about like certain teams,
Yep.
playing complimentary football. I just like it's it's good to have a league like this where it's wide open, this year. But it's like, man, I want to see the teams actually, be dominant, like the teams that are supposed to be dominant.
Yeah, and that's why we talked. You talked about parity earlier. Well, we both talked about parity earlier, and that's why, like, I don't think parity is the biggest deal in the world because I'm sorry, I don't need to see the number 14 team win a championship. I don't.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to crap on greatness. Never.
Oh,
Yeah, we want to see the Chiefs get knocked down a peg, but we didn't want to see them go to being like, wow, they're gonna miss the playoffs, like because that's where we're pretty much at. Like
but at the same time, like, it's one thing. Like, I would hate to see them miss the playoffs if they deserve to be in it. Is if you know what I
yeah,
mean. Like, they deserve to miss it this year, so like it's different.
yeah,
Like like I would hate it if like somehow I don't know how this would ever happen, but I would hate it if like on a technicality or if on a crappy rule they lost a game that ended up them missing the playoffs, even though they clearly were one of the 7 teams that deserved to make it. If that makes sense, like
yeah,
like in college football, like you're an Oregon fan,
yeah,
like if Oregon beat, let's say, I know this isn't the ranking, but let's just say if Oregon beat 4 ranked Mississippi, okay, and if Bama lost to that same team but they put in Bama over Oregon, I would probably, even as a Bama fan, I probably would be like, Oregon deserved to be in over us.
yeah,
But like, so when I talk about parity, like I want to see great teams in, like you said, like I want to see the best of the best.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Like it's. And I mean, and that's the thing is we didn't even touch on like the Lane Kiffin stuff, but everybody's touching on that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even feel like we needed to because I feel like that's been talked to death.
It's like I really wish that we, you know, like that seems to be like that's the thing that the NFL stopped, kind of, in terms of letting coaches have one foot out the door before they even coach the rest of the season. Um, but like, when we get to the CFP this year, just like the NFL, which is what I'm surprised about, is that like, well, both the CFP and the NFL for like the first time ever, like together, are just wide open. Any one of those 12 teams in the CFP can win it, and literally anybody in football still alive in the playoff hunt can win it. And it's like it's amazing to me that it's a good thing, but it's also like, wow, we're seeing a lot of teams that are not kind of playing well, but they're going to end up either like backdooring their way in,
Right.
or they're going to end up, catching, fire at the very end, which is why we also say too, momentum is an important thing. When you get to the
Oh yeah.
playoffs, momentum is a very, very important thing, because if you can be on that playoff hunt and then rattle off 3-4 straight wins to end, the season and get in, you have a better chance almost than anybody to win it all. So, it's weird that we're going to see that probably happen in the NFL this year. CFP is basically almost said we have to see how the conference championship games shake out. But it's a weird year for football. It's a very weird year.
Oh, it's bizarre.
It's like, I like the fact that we're getting all these weird, quirky football games, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I want the product to just be a little bit better, I guess, in
Mhm.
terms of like the quality of these games too.
Well, you
Like,
talk about the quality of the games. I mean, this weekend, like we've said in the last few weeks how bad so many of the games have been. I mean, I know we're going to talk about this in FAH, but like, let's just look at the schedule for a second. Philly, LA, 8-4 versus 8-4. Houston, Kansas City, 7-5 versus 6-6. Chicago versus Green Bay, 9-3 versus 8-3-1. Sorry, Shane. Let me see. Dolphins versus Jets, 5-7 versus 3-9. Both crappy records, but only 2 wins apart from one another. Washington versus Minnesota, 3-9 versus 4-8. Colts versus Jacksonville, 8-4, 8-4. Steelers, Ravens, 6-6, 6-6. Like a lot of the teams playing one another this weekend, they're playing pretty comparable with themselves. Like they're playing comparable record teams. So I'm hoping that'll make for a pretty good product. And I think at minimum, even if some of the products aren't great, I think it'll help us determine, okay, what type of 6-6 team is this?
yeah,
Like, is
yeah,
this a 6-6 team that's gotten lucky or unlucky based on the schedule they've played? Is this is this like a Dallas type of 500 where their record probably undersells what they are, or is this a Philly type of 10-2 where maybe they are playing a little bit below where they should be, like all these different types of things.
yeah.
So hopefully we get some separation this weekend with that. But it seems to me, I don't, do you feel differently? But it seems to me this should be a good weekend of football.
No, it should be. I'm excited to see what happens with Houston because they're catching fire at the right time. Houston is literally that defense is so good. They just it's crazy. Houston and Cleveland. Cleveland would be what Houston is right now if Cleveland just had the offense. Like, Houston doesn't have a great offense, right?
Yeah.
But they've got enough there to where it's serviceable. Like if
Yeah, well,
Cleveland,
that's why I said like you put literally, and I'm not saying Shador is a bottom 3 quarterback because I don't know yet where he is, but if you put a top 20 quarterback in this league, like you put this year's version of Trent Dilfer in that league, that's teams contending not just for the AFC North, for the AFC. You
yeah,
put this year's version of Trent Dilfer in that in that offense, they are competing for the AFC.
yeah, because it's like you look at Houston, who's catching fire right now. They're pretty much a 500 team, and as my dogs go
Is that
crazy,
Daisy or Duke?
that that
You have
sounds
no
like.
idea.
I mean, because their barks are similar. I mean, his is a
Oh,
little more husky, obviously, because he's a boy, but uh, that just sounds like Daisy based on how loud it is. Um, like the
I don't know why that
pitch.
was so funny to me.
Yeah, I like the pitch of it. But it's I look at Houston now. I've been impressed by what I've seen because defensively they're just a monster. Defensively, Houston is fantastic. Derek Stingley's great. Will Anderson's great. I believe they have Daniel Hunter. I forget if they still have him. But they just do everything really well and together as a unit, and that they can force turnovers. Like it's great that they're able to play this way. It's great that that's a pass. That's not a fumble. But I really think that like it just that's what we mean when we say things are so wide open right now. Like where Houston's playing really really good football, and they started off. We had them written off because the offense could not score, could not move the ball. CJ Stroud got hurt. And we're like, oh boy, here comes Davis Mills. Like, and all of a sudden, it's like they won like 3 straight with them, and now they've won again. And they just took down their division rivals. They took down the Colts.
Yeah,
So so I. I'm if right now if there's like a dark horse team that I think could make some sort of run down the stretch, I'm putting a lot of stock in Houston. Houston's really, really coming alive at the right time. That's what I'm saying. It's one of those teams where they haven't played well all year, but if they rattle off, if they win, 6 of their last 7, then it's like they're the hottest team in football. Then at that point,
yeah.
so like it's Like if the Browns just had that same kind of at least serviceable offense, they'd be right there too. It's like, any team can win. I mean, the Rams just lost to the Panthers. Matt Stafford had 3 bad turnovers. That's just how the game goes. The Panthers are a half game out. The Panthers are a half game out of being NFC South leaders, which we never thought possible. Um, like there's so much going on. I mean, Dallas is still in the hunt for NFC East. We thought that was dead 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks
Yeah.
ago. So
I
it's like,
still. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, and I still think it's over just because our schedule, like this game means a lot to them. I think they have to win this game. If they don't, I think it's over. Because then Philly's schedule after this weekend is easy.
Yeah, we've
So
got I think one of the 10 easiest schedules in the NFL the rest of the way.
yeah, we're at least not missing the playoffs if nothing else. But
I would be. So what a defender I've been of Coach.
yeah,
I think if we even if we make the playoffs, if we either lose this division or if we go one and done in the playoffs, I think there's a serious consideration of everybody under Howie Roseman.
yeah,
Because I still don't see, and maybe I'm being cockeyed optimist, maybe I'm being naive, whatever. I still don't see any reason we should lose this division. I still don't see any reason
yeah,
why we shouldn't win at least one playoff game. I frankly
yeah,
still think we are one of the best 2 or 3 teams in the NFC. But excuse me, sorry. If anyone wants to tell me that the Rams, that we would have lost that game if not for that special teams play or whatever, then fine, I won't argue with you. The flip side I will say is bad teams don't make that special teams play.
yeah. And also, and and if you're a good team, to be down that much, good teams like the Rams should be finish those games off. You don't allow them to come back. And then you look at what Philly you look at what Philly did. Philly showed you what that offense can be when they actually decide to play football in that second half of that game.
Yeah,
So
and it's sorry.
no, and it's like I also think of then looking at what the Rams how they just played against the Panthers. Panthers just beat them. The Rams are not
That's what I'm saying. It's the whole any given Sunday shit.
exactly like the Rams are not this team where they're just beating up on everybody.
No, they're just they are. I do think they're the most well-rounded team.
Yes,
But being the most well-rounded team and being an impenetrable team are two different things.
yeah, exactly.
You're the best team in a relative basis, but that doesn't put them. It's like, did you take economics?
No, but I know how it works, more or
Well,
less.
I mean, okay, well, you've got 90% of government. You're ahead of them already then. But anyway, but whole comparative advantage versus absolute advantage, right?
Yeah,
Like they have a comparative advantage in the sense that they are comparatively a more well-rounded team than the rest of the NFC. They don't have an absolute advantage where I think they're the best at everything and clearly ahead of everybody else.
I believe that's a safety.
I wasn't watching. What happened?
Dak just got sacked in the end zone. I think that's a safety. I don't think he got out of the end zone. I think that's a safety because he dropped back on a play, but he dropped back way too far. They're at the 5-yard or 7-yard line. He dropped back into the end zone. Oh, he might just be out of it. He's on the goal line. Oh man. I mean, either way, the drive is pretty much going to end because it'll be like 3rd and 14. But if they don't get this safety, but
yeah, that is in fact the safety according to Liz Garabin.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like it, but that's close. But yeah, I think that when you look at certain teams who have been so great every year, but it's crazy. I'll use even though it's our team, I'll use it as an example. When you look at the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles before Carson Wentz got hurt, but this is why I'm gonna say that before he got hurt. Before he got hurt, they were beating the hell out of every team they played.
Oh,
every
absolutely.
single week. That was a team to me that had that air of okay, nobody's beating them.
Yeah, I remember back in November, people were telling me that team, no one's beating that team the rest of the way.
like I still said it. Like even when Carson Wentz got down, I never said the season was over. I like when Carson Wentz went
I
down.
had
Yeah,
I had that feeling I knew I knew that the season was not going to be the same, obviously,
yeah,
but like, and I had like that sort of sunken feeling of like this was going to be the hardest thing that was going to happen to our chances that could possibly happen, but like, you
but
know,
but it was like
yeah,
still it was like every week they like, and I was like, but the thing is the absolute collection of talent that they had, and it's crazy. Like not even talent, it was just guys that knew their roles. Like
yeah.
you don't need you don't need talent. Okay, so it's not a safety. He was just out of the end zone when he was first contacted. So it's
Oh, okay, my bad.
the ball's gonna be like on like the 1 inch line because he's just barely outside the end zone. So this drive is over unless they complete like a 3rd and 14 here. Um, but yeah, so you know, like that's another thing that I think people kind of miss in football is we talk about like the Eagles having the best roster in football, and it's like, but here's the thing: talent only gets you so far. It's
Yeah, it's like we said
how
earlier.
well coached are you, and also just do you have guys outside of the talent that can step in and just know and do their role to the best of their ability? Because when you look at the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles, that wasn't a great team in terms of roster wise. That was a good team roster wise, but that wasn't like where every position was a Hall of Fame player. It wasn't. But they had guys that every single guy on that team, and now the Rams are gonna have great field position. Not Rams. Wow, Rams. Thinking of Jared Goff. Um, the Lions are gonna have great field position.
We're both screwing up.
But I think it's just because I'm tired, I guess. But I'm trying to like do both. But provide updates and finish this off. But uh, I don't know. If really you need, I don't think you need a really talented roster. You don't need a talented roster to win in sports. It helps, like we're saying with the whole thing, like, oh, if Giannis goes to OKC, it's going to help them. But the thing is, it's like, like I was saying with the whole Zion thing and like him, struggling to lose weight and get in shape and all these different things. Like, he might be working hard in terms of practicing and whatnot, but there's that saying that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work
Doesn't
hard.
work hard. Yep.
And it's like, you can have a very talented, like, look at like what I just said with the Rams. The Rams going against Panthers, that should have been like a 99.9% chance they won that game. And the only 0.1 was what happened. Stafford had 3 turnovers, Panthers won by 3. So, like, but that's because you have talent. It just didn't do the job, didn't work hard enough.
Can I point something out real quick?
Yeah.
So you mentioned the 2017 Eagles.
Yeah.
That was a team that in the off season lost several of its defenders. They lost Benny Logan. They lost Carroll. Tulloch retired. We had a quarterback that didn't get along really well with one of his receivers. We had a defensive player who was young and kind of had some maturity issues. We had a team that in the post bye week lost or won games a little bit too closely and lost a couple games we thought they should have won. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Just saying. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's like, and when you look at like the collection of players from the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl team, like Jay Ajayi, not a star, but good. LeGarrette Blount, not a star, but good.
You don't need it. That's the thing is you don't need stars at every position. You need stars surrounded by good complementary pieces. Who like look at the freaking Milwaukee Brewers this year in baseball.
Yeah.
I know it's a different sport, and I know they didn't win the whole thing, but look at them. Look at them this year. They didn't have a lot of star power. They had some stars,
Yeah.
and the rest was complementary pieces who they brought in to do what they do well, and just do that.
Yeah.
And that's what I think the best teams in any sport really do. I mean, frick, the Golden State Warriors when they were in their dynasty, Andre Iguodala and Matthew Dellavedova, whatever the hell his name was.
Matthew Dellavedova, yeah.
Dellavedova, yeah. I I don't know what I just said.
Yeah.
But
Matthew Rubber in the tub, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's just don't make me try and say that friggin' giant running back. But yeah, no, like it's just so, and I do think that like every year, but I think that it's going to definitely be. I think it's going to be very much true this year. I think that's going to. Oh my god, I almost spilled my coffee. That was going to. I think that's going to be what it comes down to for the NFL playoffs. Like if I'm looking at, I wanted to pull up the standings real quick on, kind of who's like in the hunt, for lack of a better way of saying it, in the playoffs right now. Like, and I know we won't do the whole thing because I know, one, we did this on FAH, two, I know the game's going on, and three, this show's already gone over an hour. But just kind of looking at where everybody is in each conference, like, and I know we did this on FAH, just looking at the 1 through 7 on each side of things. I mean, we're talking about the Lions and the Cowboys right now. They're 8 and 9. They're kind of on the outside looking in right now, at least in just a pure conference ranking standpoint.
Yep.
Now, I know it's not the exact same thing as, because I know the divisions kick in and one thing or another, but in terms of just in general, the fourth best ranked, or the fourth best record team, or fourth, whatever, the fourth team showing up on here in the NFC, the Bucks, they have literally a negative point differential. So like, and I know that doesn't factor in for like the actual like playoff rankings and such, but it does matter in terms of your like just kind of showing where you are and what you are as a team. And it just, looking at both sides, the Jaguars, Chargers, Colts, Bills, they're all 8 and 4, and there's stuff we genuinely don't like about all four of those teams.
Yeah.
The Denver Broncos have the second best record. They're only a half game away from the best record in the AFC. There's stuff we really don't like about that offense. The NFC right now, there are literally 6 teams within the one game of the top spot.
Yeah.
There are 6 teams within one game of a top spot. The Bears, Rams, Seahawks, Packers, Niners, and Eagles all have either 9 or 8 wins.
That's how
That is a
insane.
cluster.
Like,
that's a great reason as to why I tell people I'm not out on Philly.
Like, I always tell people too. It's like, are we down about them right now? Yeah, obviously, but like, when I look at the NFL as a whole, like every year, by around this time, right after Thanksgiving, right before Christmas, like the 1 and 2 seeds kind of start separating themselves from like the 3 and the 4 and the wild card and whatnot. That's not happening this year. It's not like that. Like,
no, and that's
first and goal for the Lions now. But like, I can't even. Like, it's almost like if you try to predict, like, the last 3 weeks, literally in the last 3 weeks alone, we've had 3 different teams control the top spot in the NFC: the Rams, the Eagles, and the Bears now. Like, that is how crazy this season is, where it's like in 3 weeks, we've had 3 top dog lead changes. Like, that's, I don't know. I can't remember the last time I've seen that. So, like,
me neither. And it's, excuse me, sorry. And, people are saying, and I keep using Philly just because obviously it's a team that we both follow, but people are talking about, Philly's on a downslide, even for their quote unquote, downslide in defense the last few weeks. They're still the 4th best team in points allowed in the conference. They have a bottom 6 scoring offense in the NFC, but that still has them at rather, let me rephrase that. But they've still won 8 games with that. So if you envision that can only get better, and that means that 667 win percentage is their floor. If 667 win percentage is your floor, then I have a hard time being pessimistic about, or at least being completely out on you, as some people are. The people who are saying we should we should assume they're not going to be playing meaningful football again until the beginning of. I'm like, what the hell are you on? Like, again, I understand being hard on our team. I understand that. I understand having expectations higher than they are in Carolina, than they are in Atlanta, than they are in Chicago, than they are in Cleveland, than they are in Cincinnati. I'm all for that, and I'm actively like I'm actively like in favor of that. But also, like, it's not as if like this team that was who they were the first not just the first. This isn't like a first 4 weeks team. We're talking like the first 6 to 7. Did I have to use those numbers? Or the first almost half of the season. Like I don't know. And again, if I'm not seeing something, obviously I encourage someone to point out what I'm missing.
Yeah.
But and again, we really have to see what they do against the Chargers this week, and then we'll wrap it up after this because I know that there's an actual game on that we want to go watch. Well, I know you're already watching it. I'll go put it on also, but I just that's one of the things that I think as just not as a fan of any particular team, but as a general fan of football, that's one of the things that I think is cool about this season is, I mean, shucks, one of the most successful teams the past half of the season has been the freaking Panthers.
Yeah.
And we thought they could be one of the worst teams in football this year. They are literally listed as one of the teams in the hunt on The Athletic. They are right next to the Cowboys and are only one game behind the Lions.
Yeah, and they're a half game away from winning their division right now.
Yeah. And see, like they win tonight and one or two other things go their way this week, all of a sudden they're a top 4 seed in the NFC. And all of a sudden you go that quickly from Dave Canales and Bryce Young being on the hot seat to getting contract extensions.
Yeah.
Like and that's one of the things that I love about sports is I hear all this shit about parity and all this stuff about how, oh, it's not fair to the this, that, and the other. You can't tell me that market size is the be-all, end-all for teams. When I saw Cincinnati take a team with no O-line to the Super Bowl, cheap-ass Cincinnati and penny pitching Scrooge McDuck, Mike Brown, and and now Dave Canales and Bryce Young and Daniel Tepper, who makes George Steinbrenner look like the poster child for patience and all this stuff. To see all this and then see in one season the Chicago Bears of all teams looked formidable.
Yeah.
And the way I saw the Texans turn it around after a decade mired in mediocrity, to see now the Jacksonville Jaguars be on pace to go 11-6 and finish with the 3rd seed in the AFC, to see the Bucs lose Tom Brady and still be a perennial playoff team because they knew because they got one right quarterback because one idiot team in the AFC was too dumb to keep them and decided to make a move for some guy in Houston whose name's not going to be brought up. All this other things, that's one of the things that I hate about the parity conversation, because I'm sorry, if you are in a Cincinnati or New York or Tennessee or Las Vegas or Miami or Washington, half the teams I just mentioned are not small market teams. They are just run by incompetent people. That's all it is.
Yeah.
The league doesn't have a parity problem. They have a competence problem. And no amount of funding or revenue sharing or capping can fix that. That's all I have to say.
It's good to be a good businessman and be able to own a team with that, have that much money to buy a team. But you can be good at making money, doesn't mean you're good at putting a team together. So this is huge, by the way. Cowboys with a win, their playoff probability jumps to 39. With a loss, it goes down to 9. Lions with the win, 55 versus with the loss, 19.
Oh, that's fun. I'm gonna pull back up The Athletic real quick. Let's run through this because I want to see that with a few NFC teams real quick. Here we are. I'll start with Philly. Let's list another team you want me to pull up first.
No, go ahead.
So according to this, Philly beats Kansas. My lord, Philly beats Los Angeles. Chances if they win, 98%. Chances if they lose, 90%. This is to make the playoffs, by the way.
Yeah.
Let's check. Get the 1 seed in the bye. If they win, okay. So this does basically feel like a make or break this week in terms of getting the 1 seed in the bye. It says if they win, 15%. If they lose, 1%. So this does kind of feel like a be all end all in terms of that. But
that's fine because we were the 2 seed last year.
Yeah. Win the division. 96% if they win this week. What do you think the percentage is to win the division if we lose this week?
I'll say somewhere like 84.
Holy shit, dude.
What?
That's exactly what it is.
I swear to God, I don't even look at that stuff. I was like, oh, let me just guess.
Guess the line. We need to have a segment for friggin', guess the athletic predictor simulator thing.
Yeah,
But yeah, so it's just so interesting to me that even this late in the season, it's not that they are it's not like they don't mean a ton, because obviously they do, but it is interesting that even week, this is 13 or 14.
this is 14.
Okay, I thought it was 13 for some reason.
Yeah, this is the start of 14.
Yeah. It is interesting that even going into week 14, I mean, there's only been what, 3 teams that have been eliminated for sure, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like the Cardinals. Oh no, Cardinals, Saints, Giants, Raiders, Titans. Okay, so 5.
yeah.
The fact that the Dolphins, Jets, Browns, Commanders, Vikings, Falcons, the fact that those teams haven't been mathematically eliminated is psychotic to me. I wish I could click on one of these teams and they would tell me what has to happen for any of these teams to make it, except I feel like it would break Microsoft Edge.
I mean, like, what's crazy too is like, because the Dolphins have won like 3 straight games. I think they've won 3 or 4 straight. So like, they're alive. I mean, that's gonna end at some point. Like, because they played 3. I mean, listen, you can only play on our schedule, but they've benefited from the easy schedule the last 3 weeks. But it's just crazy that a lot of these teams that we left for dead back in week 5 or 6 are now all of a sudden, hell, some of these teams we didn't even get done with them until week 8, and then we were like, oh boy, now they're alive all of a sudden. So like,
I mean, Carolina, we already talked about it in that context. I feel like we did. I feel like we did that with both. I think to different degrees, we did that with. We definitely did that with Minnesota. We may have done that with. I can't remember if we did that with Washington or not. We may have after Jaden Daniels went down.
Yeah.
This actually makes Detroit look a little bit more in a dire situation than I thought they were. 7-5. I don't know. I guess I thought they had a bit of a better record than that.
Yeah, but when you realize that even the wild card teams, you realize all the wild card teams have like at least 8 wins right now. It's like, yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. The Bengals still having a shot is insane to me.
Yeah, they have to win out and get help though.
I mean, it's only a 6% chance, but the fact they even have a chance at all is insane to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like looking at the make the playoffs in both conferences, it's basically the AFC is going to be the Patriots, Bills, Jaguars, Colts, Ravens, Texans, Broncos, Chargers, and it looks like one of the Chiefs, Steelers, or Bengals is going to be the last one. If I did that math correctly. And then the NFC looks like all 3 of the playoff teams from the AFC or NFC West are going to make it.
Yeah.
Bucks, Packers, Bears, Eagles. And then it looks like that last spot's going to be some combination of the Cowboys, Lions, Panthers, Falcons, Vikings, Commanders. Those last 3 obviously are decidedly unlikely.
And if the Cowboys lose tonight, then they're on life support pretty much. So
yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. It does make it quite fascinating for the coaching cycle going into the offseason, because a lot of these teams that are already out, it's hard to see them making a coaching change. But you get eliminated this early, typically your job's not automatically safe.
Yeah.
And you're talking guys like Gannon and Kellen Moore and the other 3 teams have already fired their coaches. I'm sorry. The Giants did. The Titans did. I'm sorry. The Raiders didn't. My bad. But there is talk about Carroll being a one and done. But I mean, yeah, I will be curious for those two teams that haven't already fired their coaches, and the Saints and the Cardinals. I will be curious if either one of them does end up doing so. I'm guessing the Saints won't. Gannon might be somebody to watch, though.
Yeah. God, never thought we'd bring his name up again. Jesus.
Sorry. Yeah, I still can't stand him, but just in the sense of the obvious of the actual situation at hand. It was what the hell is this? All right, let's see here. Anything else transpire before we go and do our? Oh, last thing I'll bring up because it came up a few times this week. Mike Tomlin, does he come back for the Steelers next year?
I mean,
okay. Well, I'll ask that in two questions. Should he and will he is what I'll ask.
Should he? No. Will he? Yeah. Because this has become a thing with Mike Tomlin, and I hate when there's a couple people in the media that say, "Oh, it's not his fault." And listen, is he a Hall of Fame coach? Yes. Is he a good coach? For years, he was. Yes, but to me, he falls into the same category as like a Jim Harbaugh, to where it's like, how much longer is the leash going to be for you to not win anything? Like it's like I don't understand how much longer we're going to play with this nonsense of either just barely making the playoffs or just missing it, blaming, a key injury here or there, because not for nothing, but Tomlin was a guy who, I mean, he's supposed to be a defensive head coach. Their defense has not been good this year. It's been better lately, but it hasn't been good this year, for their standards or for really the NFL standards for that matter. And Tomlin's also somebody who, he made the big call on bringing in Arthur Smith, and Arthur Smith was already not a great OC in Atlanta. He wasn't a good play caller in Atlanta. He's definitely not a good play caller in Pittsburgh. And Tomlin went out of his way and even said, now forget just defending him. He went out of his way and said, oh yeah, his offensive philosophy aligns with mine. That's not good. So, like, I think much like how it happened with kind of like with Bill Belichick, and much how it's happened with Pete Carroll after his Seattle tenure, and kind of much how it's seemingly playing out now with both him and with Tomlin and Harbaugh. I'm looking at it as like the game has passed them by, it feels like. And it's like, at what point do you make a change? At what point do you say, because now these guys are starting to feel like they're just legacy guys. Where like they're just there because of what they accomplished in the past. But what have you done in the last 10 years? Nothing. They've both done nothing. Like, I don't get how you get a decade of doing nothing to, and still keep your job. So, it's like, I mean, my two good friends, Adam and Gabe, who are Steelers fans, they've wanted him gone since COVID. So it's like, I don't get how he's hung around this long, just perpetuating a 9-8 season, or 10-7, and just barely making or missing the playoffs. And so, what's crazy too is like, it seems like even when they are 9-8, they start off like 6-2, or they start off like 5-1, and then they can't get going again. And that's like, no team that starts off that way should end up 9-8. So, like, it's clearly become more of a coaching problem, less than a player's not executing problem. If that's how these seasons are constantly going, it's becoming more of a coaching problem. So, should he be gone? Yes. Will he? Probably not, because the Steelers like him too much, and it's too much of like, hey, we're comfortable with the guy we have because of the past success, because he's been here so long. Like, it's like, but you gotta end up cutting ties with them at some point. You cannot keep allowing the same things to happen. You just can't. And I feel like when him and Harbaugh are the two biggest names to me on the hot seat, and they've been there. And I don't know why these guys, like Tomlin's starting to get it now, where he's starting to get under fire. But I don't understand why Harbaugh hasn't gotten it. I'm like, why? He hasn't won anything in 12 years. Why is he still not on the hot seat? Why is nobody bringing him up? Because he should be. So I don't know. I mean, but yeah, I think when it comes to both those guys, not just Tomlin, but both those guys, should they be gone? Yes. Will they be Probably not.
Here's another question I have. If Kevin O'Connell and Mike Tomlin both lose their jobs this offseason, true or false? No, I'll ask this a different way. One, neither, or both of Arthur Smith and Brian Flores succeed. They're outgoing coaches.
I believe that one will. Because Arthur Smith has not had any success in this league at all, like pretty much like ever with any of his offenses. And wow, Brandon Aubrey just made that kick. He almost missed. It's 10-6 now, Detroit. But
it's 10-6 Detroit?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it was 10-3?
Yeah, it was 10-3.
Okay, so it was never 7. Okay.
So Brian Flores feels like the move. I think that where they would go with the succession, just because I almost feel like with Kevin O'Connell, I feel like the kind of the quarterback whisperer thing is starting to kind of fade from him. The quarterback guru thing is kind of starting to lose its luster, so to speak. And it's funny because we said at the beginning of the season, hey, he still has it, and it was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe not. But now it's been really bad. So if I had to think about it just based on, well, first of all, I would go with the guy who's already been a head coach, which has been Flores. I mean, Arthur Smith, I think has 2 in Atlanta, but Arthur Smith is just not. That's not a guy I look at. Like I would want to hire him again. Like Flores, Flores had success. Like Flores had success, in Miami. I mean,
it's kind of interesting that we had that whole controversy about him apparently being a hard ass and now down in Miami. And now we kind of and now time's gone on, and it's kind of interesting how history kind of does, like, kind of doubles back and kind of, revisits past situations and contextualizes past situations. And now people kind of wonder, was that really all on Brian Flores?
Like, put it this way, like I think that out of those two guys, he'd be the one to succeed Kevin O'Connell. Whereas I can't see Arthur Smith getting another head coaching job ever again.
I agree with everything of that until that very end. I think young offensive coaches in this day and age, I think that a lot of them will always have at least a chance at a second head coaching job somewhere, even if in college. Chip Kelly is apparently up for the head coaching job at Kentucky.
I think he'll get. Well, I should say in the NFL. I think at the college level, probably somebody will get desperate, or maybe even a bad team in the NFL might get desperate. I just don't think
typically the bad teams are the only ones hiring coaches in the first place.
Yeah.
At least head coaches.
So because when I think of Arthur Smith, those offenses he's had talent on his offenses and done nothing with them. So it's like, and even this year, it's kind of not his fault, so to speak, but that Steelers offense is very vanilla, and it's very just boring to watch. And they do have pieces you do have a DK Metcalf, you do have a Kenneth Gainwell, who's a really good running back that people haven't realized, but when Kenny G does get the touches, he's a really good running back.
Kenny G, I was kind of surprised we didn't keep him.
Yeah, a little bit, but I kind of saw it coming. He'd been there long enough. Plus, his big cousin was Fletcher Cox, and Fletcher had left already by that point. So, I figured, I was like, yeah, all right.
Wait, back up. They're related?
Yeah, they're cousins. Yeah.
Today I learned. All right, go on.
Yeah, they're cousins. It stinks that they didn't get to win together. But they both have a Super Bowl, though. So when they pull up to family functions and Thanksgiving and Christmas, that's it's 2 Eagles with a ring. But I think that when I look at what the Steelers have and Arthur Smith has had talent on his offenses, and they've been just a bottom tier offense everywhere he's in the coaching spots he's been. So I'm just like, will a team get desperate for an offensive coach and look to grab him? Yeah. Should they? Absolutely not. I look at him. Wow, Jared Goff missed. I mean, he didn't miss. He just didn't even look. J-Mo was wide open down the field. Didn't even see it. Um, but I think that like Brian Flores, like it took a couple of Miami teams that weren't supposed to do anything. He got one of them to a 10-6 record. Another one, like he took him. He has had 2 seasons where he was above 500, and that was with a pretty bad. He inherited some pretty bad Miami teams. So you know, I think that I still think that he might not be like the once great defensive genius that he was. I still think he's a good defensive coach. So I think there's still something there. But I could see a
You
world
talking
where
about Flores?
yeah, and
I don't know.
it's
His defenses look pretty freaking good earlier this season.
yeah, but then now it's well that's part of the offense being hurt too with no having no quarterback that all the defense is now falling apart too. Um,
Yeah, I mean that's kind of I think what happened with us with Coach Fangio was that you had, you know, I mean we were going. Didn't you say we had like the second most three and outs of any team other than Tennessee or some shit like that?
we have the most.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't put that on the defense because I mean, obviously, if you are literally the only ones doing the job for 40 minutes almost uninterrupted, yeah, no shit, you're going to be performing poorly in the second half.
Well, Shane, our good buddy Shane, uh,
OJ Hanson.
he exposed why Flores' defense doesn't work though. Like why as they get later in the season, his defenses usually tend to taper off because eventually teams get wise to it, and then you can actually run a bunch of different things to beat that defense. It's not as it's great on the surface if you don't know how to
That's the
attack.
one that he said was born out of like the Chicago 46, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The,
Um,
the 85 Bears one.
I
Which is
I
basically just throw everything at the kitchen sink to stop the run, and then it's kind of almost like blitzing on steroids.
like I'm like I can't figure out. Oh, that's just another. I can't figure it out. Like why Arthur Smith will get a job. I can see a world where both guys don't succeed. Their current head coaches, just because Arthur Smith already said yeah. But I wonder how much of you know, the whole bad, you know, I got that replay, but that replay was bad. That's why I'm stunned. So I can't speak. What I saw in that replay was terrible. Um, you know, I just can't believe that there's not some bad taste, I guess, in ownership and front office's mouths from the whole Flores lawsuit thing, and from
I
like because
I
that
mean I'm willing to bet that there is, but I mean let's be honest. At the end of the, did you freeze? Did I lose you? What the flip? Well, that's a hell of a way to end the show. We'll give him about another 30 seconds, and if he ain't back, we'll wrap it up here. But what I was going to say to respond to him was more along the was mostly along the lines of if he if the Vikings really thought that the lawsuit was going to be that much of an inhibitor or anything of that nature, or if other teams did, I feel like it's probably at a point now where, at least for most owners, the desire to win would probably override or supersede that. It's just my guess. I think that at that point, that probably is. I mean, if you're going to bring players onto your team that have much more serious things going on, I feel like it's hard to look at this and suddenly say, this guy who was not somebody who did wrong, but somebody who was allegedly the one who was wronged. I feel like it's hard to suddenly say that anything he can bring from a coaching value standpoint is overridden by this. That's just my vantage point. I would find it harder. I think if I were an owner in that position, I think I would find it hard to have that be okay. He is back. All right, cool. Hey, hello.
Yep. So now your adapter thing craps out. I stepped on the wire to my computer by accident, and the power brick for the computer, this thing, the bottom of it unplugged. So
That's what happened to me.
yeah. Yep.
Anyway, so I don't know what you saw at the end or not, but basically all I said was, if I were an NFL owner, I feel like him having put those lawsuits out, I would have a hard time looking at that as something that would keep me from hiring him. I think that desire to win and need to win would probably override that, especially like you've got teams bringing back in people who committed atrocities in the past. Being somebody who was allegedly on the victimized end of certain things, I feel like that's a really hard thing to say that you're going to blacklist somebody for or not consider hiring somebody for in that circumstance. Like if you're going to bring in people who did awful things or who have allegedly done awful things, bring in somebody who was allegedly treated poorly. That is a hard thing for me to look at and think that they would have a legitimate reason as to using that against him. Now, I'm not saying they absolutely have to hire him. Obviously, I'm not saying that he's obviously the best candidate for every coaching job. Obviously, he's not. Nobody's the perfect coaching candidate for every job. That's just literally that's the exact directly in conflict with what meaning with what being the perfect candidate means. Holy shit. But yeah, I don't know. But if you want to finish making your point, go ahead.
No, I think that was it. Like I can see a world where Flores, I think, does succeed, Kevin O'Connell, or gets another coaching job somewhere. And I can see a world where neither of them do. But I don't think both. I think both is out of the question. But I definitely think that if I'm going to pick one, it's going to be Flores.
I would agree with that. I think that Smith probably needs more time and more of an offensive like I think the difference there is obviously going to be track record. I think that Flores now at least has a resume post Miami where he can show what he's done since then that is worth being giving a second chance to as a head coach. And I think he even has some stuff from while he was in Miami that is worth that, because I honestly didn't think he deserved to be fired in Miami. Whereas I think Arthur Smith just doesn't have that yet. And I think that it also becomes even harder, I think, with Coach Tomlin in there, because Coach Tomlin is such a known like CEO type head coach who kind of he's kind of the locker room leader rather than just the X's and O's guy. So I think if you're not bringing the results on offense, it's kind of hard to show like what you've done if you don't have the results purely on your side of the ball. He just doesn't have that.
Yeah.
But on the tangentially with that, you can also say, well, he didn't have a lot to work with either. But unfortunately, that's how it works sometimes. Even though we've seen plenty of guys like the Matt LaFleurs who don't have the greatest stats on their side of the ball and still turn out to be pretty solid head coaches, at least we think. And then we've also got plenty of guys who are the Adam Gases of the world who have number one offenses as coordinators and then flop as head coaches, or Eric Mangini's or Romeo Cornell's or guys of that nature.
Yeah.
And with that, holy crap, the second hour went by fast. All right. You got anything else, or should we wrap this thing up and keep watching some football before we reconvene later on FAH?
I think that's a good plan. So, yeah, I'm good. I think we touched on almost everything we wanted to.
Yeah, so. I think so too. And the only thing we didn't really get into was winter meetings, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that next week. That'll be, I think, more fun to do when kill me now. When Jay gets back anyway. because again, we'll have the three Yankees fans together, and let's face it.
That's also the heart of the winter meetings too, because they really kick into gear next week. So
I thought that they end on Thursday.
I heard that didn't they start?
Let me check. No, I know that they start on Sunday. I know they start on the days on Sunday is when they always start. I don't know if it's this Sunday is what I'm trying to say. Let me look.
Like I more so mean it as like that's the week where a lot of deals might be made, like that are gonna. So
I know. Let me. This is the best way I think I can phrase it. The winter meetings always go from a Sunday to a Thursday. That I know.
So yeah, Sunday. So yeah, for this year, Sunday, December 7th to Wednesday, December 10th. So by Thursday, we should have a bunch of big.
So that will be that will be like the last day of it basically because Thursday is I'm pretty sure Thursday is the Rule 5 draft.
Yeah.
So we'll have a lot to recap. I'll leave you with this then. Last question, and we don't have to go too far into it.
Yeah.
Tatsuya Imai. There's a lot of people who believe that he's going to sign at the winter meetings. I'm one of them. Tatsuya Imai, a week from today, will have agreed to a deal with the blank.
New York Yankees.
I agree.
I can't see. I just can't see how he doesn't. He doesn't want to be a Dodger.
He doesn't want to be a Dodger. He doesn't want to. He wants to be kind of his own guy, like his own. Like he doesn't want to join a bunch of other players from Japan. He kind of wants to have his own challenge. He wants to beat the Dodgers, as he said it. The Giants are not looking to spend a ton of money on pitching. I think I look at three teams that make sense to me, and it's the Yankees, Padres, and Mets.
Yep, those were the three I had in mind too. That's exactly. I was gonna say if you didn't say the Padres, at least the Padres. I was gonna say if you didn't bring up at least the Padres, I'd been pissed.
And I don't know how much of it matters, but if they keep Kodai Senga, then technically that brings them out on the Japan side of things. I don't know if that's like a deciding factor.
Oh, huge game-breaking run by by David Montgomery, 17-6 Lions.
Nice.
I
have in mind going to New York as well, and I hope I'm right because quite honestly, if we get Imai and bring back Bellinger and then add like one or two relievers,
that's a good offseason.
That's a good offseason to me. And quite frankly, and I've said it before, I want Bellinger back.
Yep.
But I don't think that our offseason is dead if we go a pathway that doesn't include bringing back Bellinger.
Yeah.
I'm not as like there have been past years where I thought the offseason was dead if there was a certain move that we did not make by bringing somebody back or getting a specific player. I just don't feel that way about Bellinger. He did not show me enough in October to be that guy. He just didn't. I'm sorry. I like him. I really want him back. I think he wants to be back, but I can see pathways to us being a better team next year than this year without him.
I think it was just.
And I also think we've got one or two prospects pitching wise that I think that you can make an argument that I'd rather give them the ball at the end of the rotation and give them the chance and rock with them than bring in a veteran just because they're a veteran.
Because you would figure if the Yankees do get Imai, right?
Yeah.
Your rotation is, when healthy, is Cole, Rodon, Fried, Imai, Schlittler.
Rodon, Fried, Imai, Schlittler.
Yeah.
When you think of the fact that one of those guys won't start in a postseason series, that is insane.
Yeah.
Cole, Rodon, Fried, Imai, Schlittler. That is not a rotation where you should have to say which of these guys is going into my bullpen.
Yeah.
Like
and if one of them does, oh man, that's a great option to have.
I'll be honest with you. This is going to sound insane, but if I have to move one of those guys to my bullpen in October, depending on how he comes back, there's a good chance I might pick Garrett Cole.
Yeah, you're not wrong. No, I can see it.
Because can you imagine that stuff playing up if I only have to get 4 innings out of him?
Yeah.
My God.
And like,
You stack Freed for 3 to 4 innings, and then Cole for 3 to 4 innings.
yeah, you're gonna win that game like
Good luck next game.
yeah, you're gonna win that game like 3-1. Like it's like yeah,
My number just has to be bigger than theirs. If it's 2-1 or 15-14, I do not care.
yeah. Oh my goodness, that's the dream.
That's a hell of a coaching strategy. I imagine getting into a locker room one day and just and your coach is standing in front of you and all they say is, "I don't care as long as our number is bigger than theirs."
That's a rotation of dreams. That's a rotate. That would be if they get Imai, and you're rotating, and you get and all the guys get healthy.
That's the best rotation since like the Clemens, Pettit, Mosina years.
That's I think overall it's the best rotation in baseball. So, like
I'll be honest with you. I think they'll have a case for the best rotation in the AL, even if they made no moves. I genuinely believe that.
Yeah, as long as they get healthy. It's just a matter of getting healthy. Like that's kind of why
Yeah,
you need that starter.
like
oh boy.
The thing that I hate about that phrase is that every team in MLB can say that.
Yeah.
Like literally every team, it's always if they're healthy.
Yeah.
Like no shit. Like every team says that. And I'm not dragging you. It's just that I see people write that about the Yankees all the time, and I'm just like, well, duh.
Yeah. Well, that's just the one thing that stinks is that they're never healthy. Like that's the tough part is like, the Yankees, I feel like it really does apply because like other teams do get their guys back usually in time for a postseason run. The Yankees kind of rarely do, or they have guys that go down really late that they can't afford to go down. Like it always feels like
that 2022 season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like, if there's any year other than the Houston year where I look at it and I think I genuinely believe we would have won if not for that, what happened at the end of the year, that's probably the year. I genuinely believe that was like a year that they had the ability to do that.
Yeah. Look at
anyway.
This. Look at this show. We're 4 minutes left in the second quarter. We've done basically the first half of the Lions Cowboys game.
I'm all right. Now I'm actually going to wrap this up. But guys, thanks for sticking with us. I can't believe we actually still have people on. But we'll see y'all back next week on the 11th to wrap up the winter meetings, talk some more football, get some updates on whatever's going on in the NBA, and much more. Until then, have a good next week, and we'll see you then. Same scoop time, same scoop channel, scoop and